Hello and welcome back to Rage Gaming. My name is Hollow, and today I want to talk Diablo 4 Endgame. I'm currently level 73, nicely into tier 4 Torment now. At the current stage, I'm refining my build and gear setup. I'm hunting ancestral legendaries or making them. I'm praying to find the right uniques. I'm working in ideal skills on my equipment. Basically, I'm rapidly approaching that point where, I've achieved what I wanted to with my main class and build. My gameplay loop feels exactly the same, in fact, as it did 20 plus levels ago. When I hit Nightmare mode at 45, I was basically doing the same thing then as I am now. Nightmare dungeons, the occasional tree of whispers, cleaning up the zones to fill out my renown. In fact, upon reflection, nothing's really changed except for an increase in gear stats, while vice versa, the enemies have become harder and the Nightmare dungeons feature more affixes and less revives. It's still a very satisfying process with my character, but there's a clear fall off in new content at a certain stage. So with this being my first discussion style video for Diablo 4, I want to talk about how I feel about the game in its final stage before Season 1 drops. And with that, ask you some big questions. What level are you right now? What are you working on? And is it fun? To start, let's talk about the big important stuff. Diablo 4, in my opinion, has been a fantastic experience that I'm still enjoying and look forward to playing for some time. Before Season 1, I still plan to refine that main Necromancer build, but also get a minion build as strong as possible and try other styles of builds like blood focus stuff as well. Then I'd like to finally pick up my rogue and enjoy the crazy speed and pace that features. All of that's going to tide me over nicely for whenever Season 1 drops, which is apparently late next month, I believe. But it makes me think back to my experience with Diablo 4 at its launch, being so different to how I feel now. I played through the story, which was honestly so much weaker than Diablo 4's quite intriguing one, and finished that, and what was thrown at me? Well done, now do it again. To me, replaying the campaign instantly really isn't that engaging or interesting, and it's what made me lose interest rapidly after that, which I can imagine a lot of other people also felt. Now I finished the Diablo 4 story and I got this really fun challenge of the capstone to unlock world tier 3, and then this open world endgame. There's the PvP, the daily style tasks in the Tree of Whisperers, there's the world bosses and legions, the Helltide events, and then the more consistent content of the Nightmare dungeons, which remind me a lot of Mythic Plus and WoW. Multiple affixes that challenge you, where you kind of pick your poison style versions of the original dungeons, scaling up and up and up while helping me level my glyphs that I'm collecting. The Paragon board, which has been much more simple than I expected first looking at it, but quite satisfying to work on and gather points for. The fact that you get 4 points per level instead of say 1 or maybe all 4 being given to you when you ding, this is so much better. Such a good way to keep the reward feeling. Then there's upgrading to sacred gear, refining your skills and build, eventually bringing you to the big challenge that is the capstone that unlocks tier 4. And reflecting on that experience, it honestly seems to me like 50 to 70, aka Nightmare mode, is the perfect endgame for casual players. The majority of the player base, in fact, will get to experience all of that, enjoy all of that, complete a build to that point in Nightmare Tier 3, and maybe for a lot of people, that'll be where they finish. By the time you reach level 70 and beyond, the leveling slows down hard, even after Torment mode pushes your XP gains. At this point, the true endgame will really hit, and it doesn't seem to hit that hard in my opinion. There's no new content, just what you were already doing with more gear drops in the next tier of power level in the form of ancestrals. The Nightmare dungeon gains 2 more negative affixes at tier 21 and above, and that's largely it for the big changes. You have the next big challenge with the next capstone and pinnacle boss of the season to beat, which seems very hard with balancing already happening to it actually, but it's basically do what you were already doing for an extended period of time. Still feels good, and I have my plans as I've explained, but there is a noticeable lack of content progression compared to tier 2 to 3. What they've done though is actually really good for the player base majority. Not everyone is going to no life grind it like myself and others at even higher levels. The casual player is going to have such a good content curve with this game. I think it's just ideal for people taking it at a more normal pace. So it's really well done and I'm really happy with it, but it's also not perfect. And there's a few things I want to highlight that maybe sooner than Season 1 or in Season 1 we'll have addressed. The first and most important thing to me is this complete lack of loadouts. Loadouts meaning I can swap from build A to build B without like a really long or annoying process between it. I'm someone who wants to experiment and engage with the systems they've created, and having no loadouts feels so bad. Swapping just from say my Bone Spear build to my minion build and then back again is expensive not only on in-game gold, but the time to do it. It's honestly like really annoying. I have to slowly manually undo Paragon points on the boards, redo the skill tree every time. Then there's the gear and where I've stored it and swapping that. It's pretty bad, but it's been said that this is what they want, that they want you to have one main build to focus on. I don't really get that. Like, is it to encourage you to make a second version of the same class? Surely not. It's the most offensive and just backwards when we think about, say, PvP. How are you meant to have a PvP build to engage with that gameplay? Okay, you make a PvP build, but just make sure you don't swap back to PvE too often, which, by the way, is most of the game. PvP's felt more of a nice mini game to engage with on the side, but not a main aspect of the game. A singular mode in a small area of the map. To not at least have a loadout for PvE and PvP at the bare minimum is crazy to me. So I really hope they walk back on that decision if that's what they've intentionally done. Please, loadouts would be awesome. Second is the lack of single target combat as a whole. World bosses are pretty neat, but they're far from a proper challenge, only even appearing occasionally of course. Meanwhile, the mostly mob clear Nightmare dungeons, even at the higher tiers, might only have a boss at the end now and then. And that's high tier endgame pushing content. Majority is mob clear. Well, yeah, you've got the final pinnacle fight and that's going to be great. It's not exactly something you'll be doing often, and it's something to long term work towards. So it's a big shame to not have a way to flex your single target mechanic avoiding muscles. They could do like a boss rush or single boss challenge for replay. The capstone for tier 4, that's such a good example of a final fight where you face Elias again and deal with 6 to 7 genuinely punishing and engaging mechanics. Most dungeon bosses we fight, they have like 2 at best and they're nowhere near as good. So I would love to see a single target boss fight style endgame content to do, and that's kind of what I was expecting to have unlocked when I hit tier 4, and it just didn't happen. Third point and last point for me is the quality of life stuff. Take your stash. It's so small. Only 4 tabs total and you're just drowning in gear in tier 4, especially gems as well. You just reach the limit of space so fast, it's silly. And while it's good to make you, have to manage things a bit, this is a bit over the top, especially when you don't have loadouts to swap your gear. Gems, frankly, shouldn't take space in your inventory, that's for sure. And to be honest, they should also have their own space in the stash itself. I want to see like a filter system where I can hunt for specific aspects instead of having to manually hover over every single one and then eventually find the one I'm looking for. Better, why don't we get like a search bar to type in the aspect names? That would be perfect. I know we have the technology for that, guys. It's Blizzard. What would you like to see in terms of quality of life improvements to the game? But yeah, I think that's it for now. I'm overall really impressed with this endgame system. It is so much better than the Diablo 3 launch for me. I've really enjoyed my time with the game. I'm looking forward to that next period of refining and testing. I just hope they make that less irritating to deal with, like with loadouts or something like that. More endgame content options would be nice, like a boss or single target focused mode. In general, the system is brilliant for your normal player who hasn't been no life grinding, and that's going to be most of the player base. So let me know, what do you guys think? What level and stage are you at right now? And if you've enjoyed this style of discussion video, then please drop a like on it so that I know I can make more like this in the future. For now though, I've been Hollow, you've been you. Thanks for watching, see you next time.
Josh, Cotton, and Hollow with the videos, dropping the humor like a hammer on your tippy toes, bringing entertainment on a daily arrangement to take our insanity and turn it into entertainment. Yes, I said entertainment twice, to reiterate that it is nice to look into your faces on a mostly daily basis when you let us in your homes to make the whole world a stage. Goodbye.